Today we are going to be talking about what exactly is the macro diet. Finding a macro coach and starting on the macro diet was something that completely changed my life. Since I've started the macro diet, I have had several people, mostly my coworkers and my family, ask me how I can continue to eat what I want and still lose weight. When I first started the macro diet, I weighed in at about 138. And on any given day, I'm about 125, give or take, and I've been that weight for about 5 months now. I was so sick of yo-yo dieting, and I didn't really realize that I was one of those people that yo-yo diets. I'm 25, I thought that was for old people. I really was one of those people that would lose a bunch of weight and then gain it back, and then lose a bunch and then gain it back, just depending on what my lifestyle habits were. If you are interested in learning more about my weight loss journey, make sure you check out my video on it. I will link it down below and hopefully have it somewhere on the screen. I'm new to this, I don't know. Macronutrients, there are 3 of them in the foods that we eat: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Each of those 3 has a function in your body to help it perform. The macro diet is essentially taking those 3 macronutrients and putting them into ratios. There are a lot of common breakdowns for how this ratio should be. It totally depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to lose fat, they're going to be different. If it's to build muscle, they're going to be different. And that was really what I struggled with when I was first trying to figure out this whole thing. That's why I hired a coach, because I knew that I didn't know what I was doing and I knew that she did. Each macronutrient has a certain number of calories per gram. So both protein and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram, and fat has 9. So to explain this the easy way, let's say you have 2,000 calories per day, and you are going to break that down into 40% carbohydrates, 30% protein, and 30% fats. So because each gram of carbohydrates has 4 calories and you need 40% of your diet to come from carbohydrates, you are going to break that down. If you break down the proteins into 30%, then you are going to have 150 grams of protein per day. The remaining portion is about 67 grams of fat. The macro diet is a lot of trial and error. I've tried every diet in the book, and if I didn't lose 5 pounds in the first day, I was disappointed. But with this, it's a lot easier to see a long-term mindset because it's more of a way of eating. My favorite thing about the macro diet is that I get to eat whatever the heck I want. I do try and fill it with nutritious foods so that I still get my micronutrients, which come from a lot of your fruits and vegetables. Those don't come from cookies, unfortunately. However, I can still eat cookies as long as they fit in my numbers. Let's say that my breakdown was what we originally talked about, which was 2,000 calories, 200 carbs, 150 grams of protein, and 67 grams of fat. Each of those numbers acts as a budget. You have a budgeted amount of each of those macronutrients. So if I were to eat a cookie, which let's say is 20 grams of carbs, 3 grams of protein, and 7 grams of fat, I would take each of those numbers and subtract it from my budget, and that's what I would have left over for the day. Are there days when I don't track my macros? Of course. I just had a birthday, and the one thing I wanted to do was eat as much food as I wanted to, and that's what happened. And I think that that's okay to throw that into your diet every once in a while. All I know is that it's been sustainable, and it's been so easy to jump back on and get back to counting my numbers the next day. And it's something that I look forward to because I know I feel better when I'm counting. So how do you count your numbers? Of course, you could use a pen and paper, which I think would be the most tedious way to do this. I use MyFitnessPal. I know there are several other apps that you can get on your phone. I prefer MyFitnessPal. I do pay for it simply because the convenience factor of being able to enter in my own numbers and change those up whenever I need to. Whatever method you want to use and you feel comfortable using and you feel is sustainable is the one that is right. Is the macro diet hard to follow? The first week was the hardest for me. The first week I felt like I needed to plan out every single meal that I was about to eat and I would plan my whole day the night before, and then the next day I would eat exactly how I planned it. Once I got the hang of knowing exactly what is in food, and that's really what the hang up was, is I was not educated about what was in my food. So once I got past that hurdle, it took me about a week to a week and a half to really understand what I was getting at. Now, if I want to, I can jump into a day without having any idea of what I'm going to eat and make the numbers work out for me. I will say that for beginners, it does take about a week to 2 weeks to really understand what is in your food. But once you get the hang of it, I think it's totally worth it. If you have any questions about my experience with the macro diet, feel free to put them below. If you have any questions about macros in general, I would be happy to direct you to my coach. She is awesome and I think you'll love her. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future, and I will see you guys later. Thanks. Bye. Please be sure to give it a paw up. You don't have any thumbs? I forgot what I was saying. I already said that.